everybody. Welcome back to the Latched podcast. Lindy and Melissa here. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this podcast is about parenting in the trenches of motherhood. Today we're talking about the holidays. I feel like we do this podcast every year, but we're just going to talk about setting boundaries and expectations and all of kind of the hard stuff that comes along with holidays. You're listening to Latched Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, busy mom of 6 and owner of LatchedMama.com. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, and all things motherhood. Hi, friends.
Hey there.
How are you?
I'm good.
Thanksgiving week is upon us. And when we always think about podcasting this week, we always want to do this podcast. And I think for the most part, we've done it almost every year. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a lot of growth that comes in motherhood. And as you learn to find your voice, whether it's out of sheer desperation to find your voice, or whether it's because you start setting boundaries or doing what's best for your family. But like literally, if I could give anybody the message, like if I could impart like on the new moms, like what I have now as a decade-old mom, I don't know. I just my life just feels so much different now than it did then, when I felt like I had to do all the things and I had to be all the things to all the people. And I just keep wanting to give that gift to other people. So we keep podcasting about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were walking the other morning and I said to Lindy, I was like, so what does Thanksgiving look like? I said, are you going to do all the houses? And both of us come from, or both of us married into families with divorced partners and kids of divorced,
like eventually
kids, I guess.
Yeah.
So there are a whole bunch of people in play during our holidays. So are you doing all the houses this year?
No.
Yes. Yes.
No. You
Yay
know what's
for
crazy
winning.
is I was talking to somebody the other day. Who was it? It might have been Lauren one afternoon. And I was like, we got it all wrong. Like when I had little ones, I swear we went out to everybody else's house. And now that my kids are old, I'm like, I'm hosting. Like, I actually have a bit of mental space to figure out how to cook a turkey or like do something. And I mean, not everybody's bringing some things, but I'm like, we're doing it the wrong way. Like, now would I have wanted a whole bunch of people at my house? No, but like maybe I would have liked that option, because the option to spend 3 hours up 95 traffic to Northern Virginia with a screaming 6-month-old, like, sounds terrible.
But why did we do it?
Why did we do it?
I don't know.
Why do we say yes?
I think back and I think that like maybe motherhood to me at that time was getting the kids dressed up, and like maybe society had told me that that's what I needed to do. Like I needed to put the kids in the clothes and I needed to go sit at a nice table and I needed to do all of that. I don't know. It's crazy to me because like I look back on it and you're right. Like when they were little, people should have been coming to us, but I felt the need to put them in smocked clothing.
Why did we say yes?
I don't have any idea. It had to have been the idea that at some point, I know for me growing up, when I thought of being a mom, I thought of descending on the grandparents' house with the kids, because maybe that's what I did growing up. And maybe I didn't realize how much of a struggle. Well, I also had a very different family. Like my sister, my brother, my sister's 7 years older than me. My brother's 10 years older than me. And then so basically I was an only child of my mom's, second marriage. So maybe it was just a different dynamic of big families, but
it's just weird. Like I think we should flip the switch and create this new thing where people just come to you and they bring the food. Like everybody brings the meals, and this mom of like a little one that takes 2 naps or multiple naps, and you can stay in your space and enjoy a meal, and people just bring the party.
But then does it come,
to you? Like,
but it has to come with the expectation of the fact that there might be messes.
Yeah.
Or that people might still be in their pajamas. Like last Thanksgiving, I bought the kids all Thanksgiving t-shirts because I was like, I don't care. Stay in your pajamas, put on a Thanksgiving t-shirt, and let's pretend like these are your fancy clothes.
That to me is part of that village that is not there.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's part of the like my mom came into okay, so my in-laws moved across the river. Richmond's kind of split between a river. They moved to the suburbs for us, I think, to be closer to us and to help us, which was an amazing gift. And so I asked them, I was like, what are you all doing for Thanksgiving? And if anybody knows how my life works, especially around this holiday thing, I don't start thinking about it. Like, I could not have podcasted on
Your
Thanksgiving
starts Wednesday.
Yeah, like I couldn't have podcasted last week about Thanksgiving this week. Like, it would have made me too like anxious and crazy. But so my mother-in-law has been texting me constantly about what the plan is for Thanksgiving, which is fine. It wasn't stressing. I mean, it was stressing me out, but it wasn't her fault that it was stressing me out. But she asked me, she was like, I don't want to descend on you. And I looked at her and I said, please descend on me. Please come to the house
with the things.
And I will hopefully make sure that there are some seats for everybody to sit on. And now there's like this whole big thing of like, which room are we going to have it in and stuff. But my mom came into town last night, and suddenly I can like breathe because I know that my mom is not going to let me fail. And the cool part about Thanksgiving and families and mothers, which I have learned to really appreciate, Thanksgiving has always been a holiday for me. And it's so weird. And I think I've talked about this on a podcast before. And I tried to articulate it to my mother-in-law the other night when they brought over dinner, and it didn't really work. So it's probably not going to work right now. But I think it's because of all the senses on Thanksgiving. I think it's because it's not just a holiday where you have to go through the motions. I feel like there's like taste and smell and other things. I know you're going to think that I'm crazy, but I had such a hard time when I got married with Thanksgiving. It was the holiday that I had such a hard time melding my husband's traditions in with my own, and then it slowly changed over time with the additional kids. But for me, the foods of Thanksgiving are really important, and it was one of the holidays that I mourned after I got married, and I realized it was probably never going to be the same because it felt different at the different places that I went. Like, I had no idea until I went over to Eric's father and stepmother's house that mashed potatoes could be store-bought. I had no idea that there were mashed potatoes in the refrigerator section of a store. Like, I mean, I knew that they were instant mashed potatoes, and I knew that they were like real mashed potatoes.
This is pre-made.
But I had no idea that like Bob Evans made mashed potatoes that went into a like refrigerator section that you could put in the microwave.
Awesome.
And the first time that they served me those, I didn't have like a pretentious moment, but I kind of had a wow, like there are people who do Thanksgiving very differently than my family does Thanksgiving. Yeah. And I, wrapped my arms around it, and you do what you do in marriage and stuff. But Thanksgiving's always been a really hard one for me, which is just weird. You? Yeah. No?
I don't know. Holidays in general, I just remember all the holidays with the young kids and just how hard
But do you remember them as a kid, though? Like,
but
do you
see,
remember?
I moved here when I was 9.
Okay.
Thanksgiving like our first Thanksgiving, we had a ham.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we come from South Africa, like we do hams. Like Thanksgiving was not. We had no idea what it was.
It's so funny because people do it so differently. So today is Latched Mama Thanksgiving, so it's a potluck Thanksgiving, and I, of course, didn't start thinking about it until today because there's operations team and stuff here, so I don't really have to be overly involved like I used to, like in the early years. And so I messaged a couple people on the leadership team here about what was going on today and what I could bring and were there any holes. And of course I did it at 9:00 last night, before the lunch today, because I'm not on the Slack channel that they all have to talk about this stuff. So I said, are there any holes? And they're like, Philip's bringing a ham. And I had this moment where I was like, no, it's Thanksgiving. You don't eat ham on Thanksgiving. And then suddenly I am making sure that we have turkey. And it's like, who does that
Thanksgiving
at 7:00 in the morning on a Monday when there's so much stuff going on? Yeah. We have to have turkey. It's so funny. I don't know. I don't know what it is about this holiday. And so I was thinking about like what it looked like in my childhood. And, my dad's one of 7, and it was always just a really big holiday. I remember my grandparents being super involved. My grandfather always carving the turkey. And then ironically enough, he died on Thanksgiving, which is just a whole nother thing. But I don't know. I mean, I think Thanksgiving is just, when I had little young ones, there were a lot of car naps. There were a lot of multiple families trips. So there was like breakfast at our house in the morning. And then there was a trip to Eric's dad and stepmom's house for the store-bought mashed potatoes, which is still really weird to me. And then it went from there to Eric's mom's house sometimes for dessert
Oh my
afterwards.
gosh, like stop.
And it's very different to me because you're then also dealing with very, very different families. So for me, like in that social setting of like how my children have to behave, like they can be rowdy at Nana and Pappy's house because they're just different, you know, they're different set of parents than they can be at Gami and Granddaddy's house as like a museum, and they can't touch the stuff. But at Nana and Pappy's house, they can touch all the stuff. So it's just like this bizarre like circle of, and what was it doing to the kids, you know? And then I would get all worked up.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a bit of kind of a generational thing. I think like my mom is always like drawn to hosting. Like we went over to her house on Saturday evening, like got a sitter, which is really nice. They hadn't seen her. She was at college. And mom's like, do you guys just want to like have dinner and like play a game or something? I'm like, that's really nice.
On,
like,
what,
sure.
Just with your parents?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she made dinner
okay.
and she used her little hostess set and she set the table.
Hold on. So there weren't grandkids involved. It was just you and your parents and your husband.
Yeah. And we ate dinner and we played a game, but there was like good old like calm Kenny G like 80s in the background. Like, but I'm saying this because I think it's like a hosting. Like this would like my mom would do this all the time with friends and things like that. And I'd really like to switch it. Like we don't have to go to your house and then your house and then your house and then your house.
Does she feel comfortable enough at your house to host? Like, can she make your house into her house?
No. Oh, never.
See, like my mother-in-law started.
She's like, okay, can I do something with this? And I'm like, no, you can stay there. Like she can't. she cannot relax. Like she'll walk and she's like, is there anything I can do? Like what she's really saying is this looks like complete crap and you need to clean it up.
Yeah.
She can do it, but then I find like they leave fairly quickly, which I'm like, I don't really know what. Okay, like stay, you're welcome, and then you can go. But like, I do wonder if it's this hosting thing. I think it's a generational thing.
Well, I love to host, and I always hosted before we had kids. But then we lived in a small house that we had a lot of kids in really fast. So like we really couldn't host. And so now we're in a space again where we technically can, and we have. But I remember last Thanksgiving, and I was very postpartum. I was 6-7 weeks postpartum. And those of you who are pregnant or just had fall babies, I had a lot of them, 4 of them, I guess, over the holidays. To me, it was the hardest thing ever because you're postpartum and you still have to make memories with your other kids, and you still like those expectations are incredible. Like I mean, my heart goes out to anybody who's trying to navigate it all right now because it's really hard. But I remember I got up from a nap last Thanksgiving and things had not been done the way I wanted them. Or maybe it was Christmas. It might have been Christmas. It might have. I don't know. It all runs together. It was probably. I don't know. It was one of the holidays. I think it was maybe Christmas. I don't know. We were planning Christmas dinner. I don't know. My dad was there. My mom was there. It was just hard. It was all hard. And I remember I lost my ever loving crap more than I ever have as a mom. I mean, I didn't hit anybody. I didn't get angry like that, but I swore and I yelled at my kids. And it was literally probably the single moment in motherhood that I'm least proud of to date.
What happened?
I don't know. I think I woke up from my nap. I think I was super tired. I think I was postpartum. I think I'd probably had a baby on my breast the whole nap time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was probably still pumping to get my supply up, and I was stressed about that. And I think I just woke up and the house wasn't clean and my in-laws were coming over. And I think that it was somehow working through parent stuff and things not being done. And my mom was great. My mom had worked all nap time, had tried to get the house clean, but the kids continued to mess it up. I had these unrealistic expectations of what the house was going to look like. I think it was Christmas for Christmas dinner. And I think I was tired. I think I had made Christmas happen for my kids, and
Someone needed to make Christmas happen.
Yeah.
For you.
And I think I needed to really, really let go of expectations. But
yeah.
I think I can preach it all day long, and I can say it doesn't matter all day long. But I mean, in that moment, it mattered to me. It mattered to me that nobody had, vacuumed or picked up, or, there was still Christmas wrapping paper trash everywhere. I probably didn't know where Eric was. I mean, it was just, one of those things that I think that it can get away from us so quickly. I don't know if the kids remember. I mean, they're all going to need therapy for various reasons anyways. But, it's so hard because there's so much, like you said, bring the village back. There is so much on our plates.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like I said, I can preach, lowering expectations all day long, and it 100% got the best of me last year.
Yeah.
So I think we just wanted to podcast today to kind of remind you all that, push yourselves to what you need to. But like your family may look different than your family growing up. Those memories that you remember being super important to you growing up may have to look differently now, depending on what your bandwidth is and what your family looks like.
And if you love to travel and do the things, do the things.
Yeah.
But I do wish, like myself, I wish I had the awareness after maybe 2 kids. I didn't get it after 4 kids. And it was Thanksgiving, and I was just throwing up left and right. I was like dizzy because I was pregnant with twins, and we'd gone up to Northern Virginia, and it was terrible. And I looked at Matt and I said, I will not be going anywhere next year. Like nowhere. Twins will be 6 months, and I will not be doing anything. And I wish I had the awareness, with younger kids, but maybe I just wasn't there yet. I get it. But
yeah,
if you do not want to go anywhere and you would like to celebrate at home, or that year's celebration looks different, 100% okay.
And I think there's probably some grief that has to happen. Like, I think that there's probably some
I'm letting down.
Go.
I'm feeling guilty.
Or I'm creating my own memories. And those first couple years, I can tell you, of creating your own memories that maybe are different than the ones you thought you were going to have, or the ones you had in your mind, or the ones you're seeing on social media. Those first couple years of creating your own ones might feel really hard, and they actually might feel sad. They might not feel happy. But then the traditions start to take hold. Like it. Yeah.
Or they might surprise you, because I remember that, and it was the Thanksgiving, and the twins were 6 months old, and they still napped twice a day, and they were going down at like 1-ish or something like that. So I was like, that's when we're eating. I'm going to put them down and be able to sit down. And we sat down in our first little table we ever had. It's like this little wooden one. It had 4 chairs. It was super tiny. And Lennox found this super cool like stick that had like all these different things. And so he brought in, he's like, Mom, we can make a tree and like put leaves on it. And so like they wrote things that they were thankful for and put it on this tree. And I still have said tree in my dining room. It's got like different flowers in it, but I still have that tree. And it was the best holiday meal ever, because it was just my mother-in-law and us. And
in that moment,
it was great.
In that moment, did it feel like the best holiday meal ever, or does the memory?
It wasn't just the meal. I just say like, I think we think of like holidays with meals or whatever, but it was the best like Thanksgiving, holiday,
Were you happy
Easter.
in that moment though?
Yes.
Like in that moment, did you feel happiness and gratitude?
Yeah. 100%. So I know it was different, but I think it was like a long time coming for me, and it was 100% what was needed that year.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
And it was great.
It was really interesting because Nathan, who's our oldest, who has a lot of his father in him when it comes to like traditions and stuff, he has been asking me for months. He's like, Mom, you're making Thanksgiving, right? Mom, you're making Thanksgiving, right? Mom, you're making Thanksgiving, right? Because suddenly he's in that space where I remember as a kid where like he wants my food. He wants my
Is it
Thanksgiving
a specific
food.
request?
No.
Does he have a favorite?
And I don't even know if he actually eats all of it. But he was like, and we're going to wake up and we're going to watch the parade and we're going to eat breakfast casserole. And I just kind of looked at him, and it's like the first year he's requested any of this. And I felt like I had been pushing the traditions on him because, I think you push a little bit of your childhood on your kids sometimes because it makes me happy too. But no, like he was 100% on board. Like he is all about what's happening. So he talked to my mother-in-law, who his Gami, who was over on Saturday night, and he's like, so what are you making? Because my mom needs to make it all. And I'm like, oh God, sweetheart. Like, it's like she's bringing the turkey. The turkey is what granddaddy, normally makes. Like, I mean, it was really kind of cute. But it's just, I don't know. Like, I 100% agree that, like, sometimes you just need to step back and let things happen the way that they happen. And if you don't get dressed for Thanksgiving, if your kids are still in their pajamas, if you nap as a family and you eat around 6 and the sun is already down, but you're used to growing up eating around 2 or 3, or, you know, Grace blows up in your face because your kids talk about poop or pee during it or whatever. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things that I think that if you just lower expectations and realize that there's a season for everything, and there will be a season for white tablecloths again and cloth napkins, and
I don't want that.
I know, but you
But
might
if you
one
do,
day. I mean,
that's all good.
Yeah, I mean, you might one day. Like, I think about, like, maybe, and I don't think with 6 kids it'll ever happen, but will there be a Thanksgiving that Eric and I are at the beach alone or something like that? Maybe. Yeah. Like, when we're, you know.
And it'll be good. And it'll be great.
It'll be beautiful. And we'll think back on the night. Yeah. We'll think back on the days where nobody was sitting down at the table and there was cranberry sauce on the wall. And, you know, somebody said something incredibly inappropriate in front of their fancy grandparents. And, you know, and there's just, I don't know, there's a season. So we come to you every year with the same podcast. And I think just the lesson is set your boundaries. Don't let it ruin you. And this is still the beginning of the holiday season. There's a lot coming. And if you didn't do a Friendsgiving this year, for some reason, I felt very threatened by the friend. Like, not threatened, but I felt very, like...
You feel pressured?
For some reason, I looked at Eric last night and I was like, we don't have any friends anymore. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like,
are we going to Mexican?
No, I don't know. Like, he just kind of was like, what do you mean? He's like, we did Friendsgiving for years before we had kids. He's like, our little kids are our friends now, and you know, it is what it is. I don't know. I think I was just feeling nostalgic from I don't know. It's just weird. You know, I think that I don't know. I just keep reminding myself of the season thing, of the fact that it's very beautiful. Like, somebody will, like, I will look at one of the kids on Thursday and I will say, you are in charge of decorating the table, and they will go outsve and they will find things from nature and they will bring them in, and it will be the most beautiful, like you said, like the tree. It'll be the most beautiful centerpiece I've ever seen, and they will make things and it will be beautiful and great. And, you know, I don't know. It just looks differently, you know? Yeah. So.
But I love Nathan's thing. It reminded me of Nell's the other day. She's like, Mom, like, we're doing like the pizza and like the pajamas and like the gift thing. And I was like, what is she talking about? Yeah. And I was like, you mean like the gift exchange, like the kids? And she's like, yeah. Like, we did that last Christmas Eve. So that's another time that I like reclaimed from like going to some other house for dessert that I really don't want to go anywhere for dessert. Yeah. And we stay in and we do kids gift exchange and new pajamas and like the easiest dinner I could possibly come up with. And last year it was pizza delivery and they loved it. And
Christmas
we threw on a movie.
It's great.
And I love, so like she's remembering and like it's kind of stuck with them and they remember and it's just really cute.
And it's really cool because I feel like in some ways I found my voice. Like, my mother-in-law was like, I don't want to descend on you like on Thanksgiving. And I was like, no, please do. And then the second comment I made was, I looked around the house. And I know the house will probably be cleaner on Thanksgiving than it was in that moment. But I was like, this is what you get. I was like, and we have a 14-year-old golden retriever who probably needs to be put down, but we haven't. And she pees on herself and we clean her and she pees on the floor sometimes. And she's Bella and she's going to make it hopefully longer. But then she also like goes out the doggy door and goes down to the pond and stuff. So we can't do it yet. But anyways, I looked at her and I was like, it may smell like Bella. And I just was so open with what I knew I had in terms of just capacity and what I had in the tank between now and Thanksgiving. And if you would like to come be part of our chaos on Thanksgiving, please come. Please share a meal with us. Yeah. But it might be on paper plates and it might smell like Bella. And, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. And I hope it's a one step up from that because I have high expectations for myself. But that may be where it lands. And it's so fun to find your voice and be able to use it.
Yeah, agreed.
So search for what's going to make you guys happy. Lower your expectations. Remember it's a season. And just lean into it as best you can.
Yeah, love it.
Thanks, guys.